Hey, today I'm talking about 3 Jason Reitman films, and the names of those 3 movies are Thank You for Smoking, Men, Women, and Children, and The Frontrunner. A first up is Thank You for Smoking. This is a 2006 film starring Aaron Eckhart, and the basic premise is Aaron plays this spokesman for big tobacco. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's his job, is just telling people why cigarettes aren't as bad as they are. And it's really, really good. Everything about it just works really well. What this movie really nails is that the main character is a terrible person, and he does terrible things throughout the entire movie, but he does it while being incredibly charming and likable. I feel like I've been talking about this a lot recently, wherein a lot of movies struggle with having a bad person being the lead of the movie, and it can be such a drag to watch because it's just like you're watching a bad person do bad things, and that's not really fun unless you're a little messed up. It takes a lot of nuance to, in a sense, make a terrible person a likable person. And this movie does a great job of that. And yeah, no, it just top to bottom works really well. Like, all the cast were great, the script was really tight, the direction was great. It just all worked well. And it's a satire, it's not actually promoting cigarettes, and that's fairly clear. So yeah, this movie is just great. I really loved it. I have seen it before, but it's been like 15 years, so I didn't really remember a whole lot from it. It definitely, without a doubt, holds up though. And so yeah, I would totally recommend this movie. It's definitely worth a watch. Next up is Men, Women, and Children. This is a 2014 film. It's an ensemble. It has a bunch of actors that you know. And the basic premise is it's centered around this school in Texas. It follows the lives of several different kids and several different adults, all like kind of loosely connected in that their stories kind of all have to do with the sex, and it's all complicated and messy. And this movie's interesting because, well, firstly, it's really, really good. Like, it nails the emotion so well, and it crushes the heart, and it's just like those aspects alone, I'm just like, this movie's great, I love it, it's so good. But what makes it interesting is that it has some truly awful things, like just really bad writing. For instance, the one that I just hated was one of the storylines has to do with this teenage boy. When he was 10 years old, he discovered video porn, and because of his addiction, now at the age of 15, he is so jaded by all of the porn that he's seen, he can't get an erection unless he's watching the most fucked up, vile shit on the internet. And spoilers, the vile stuff that he's watching is just women telling him exactly what to do. Okay. And his storyline revolves around this cheerleader who wants to use him for sex. And his storyline ends with her calling him just like a weird sex freak who has all sorts of problems. And it's like, no, he's not. He's just a 15-year-old boy who doesn't know how to express his feelings verbally. That's completely normal. Also, this assumption that like porn has made him this weird sex freak is just the dumbest fucking thing. It annoys me to no end. That's not how porn works. So yeah, no, that was just really dumb. I'm complaining a lot, but again, I like this movie a ton. I think what really would have helped this movie is had they cut back on a lot of the stories. There's like a dozen stories, something like that, and they just needed just a couple of them, and that would have made the movie a lot stronger. Like the stuff between Judy Greer and the guy from Breaking Bad, their relationship was really fun and interesting. The stuff between Caitlin Dever and the guy from Baby Driver, their storyline was really interesting and fun. And I think especially that latter one could have made for an entire movie just based around that. Would have been super interesting. But there's just so many other things on there that brought the movie down, and it's so frustrating because the emotion of this movie is spot on, it's perfect, but then they had to throw in some really bad writing and it ruined it. So would I recommend this movie? I want to, because the emotion's just so great, but I'm just so frustrated by it that I don't think I can. It's good, it's definitely good, but like, I don't recommend it because it's why you gotta be this way, movie. Could have been perfect, you're so close. And lastly is The Front Runner. This is a 2018 movie starring Hugh Jackman, and the basic premise is this is inspired by real-life events. There was the front runner for the Democrat candidate for the 1988 presidential election, and over the course of 3 weeks, his entire campaign fell apart because he may or may not be a womanizer. Now, this movie was really interesting. I knew basically nothing about this going into it, and there's definitely good vibes in here. Like, it definitely reminded me a lot of All the President's Men, which is a movie I really love, and that's about Watergate, like how Watergate all went down, which was super eye-opening because I didn't realize how long that actually took. And this movie did teach me a lot of stuff, but I think the biggest issue is, since I knew nothing about this, I needed more information, more concreteness of like everything. And I think an important aspect of this movie is about how this is a pivotal point in American media in which journalists started to cover the personal affairs of politicians. I mean, they do briefly touch on like LBJ and his like adultery stuff, that it was very widely known within the press circuit that he slept around a lot, but it was never reported on because that's beneath them. But now in the late 80s, this is an important thing because it tells the American people the true character of these politicians. And again, they do briefly touch on this idea, but I think they could have just used a bit more there to really drill in how this is a big turning point in America. But yeah, besides those couple complaints, I enjoyed the movie a good solid amount. It's another quite like, so it's a 4 out of 5. And honestly, I would recommend it. I do think it's an interesting movie that's worth a watch. Despite its faults, I think it's still good. I might like try to watch like a documentary about the guy later though, just to fill in those blank pieces I'm missing. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Thank You for Smoking, sitting at number 31 in the Really Like section. I really liked it. And then after that is Men, Women, and Children, sitting at number 68 at the very top of the Quite Like section. And then bringing up the rear a little ways down is The Front Runner, sitting at number 109, also in the Quite Like section. And this is out of a total of 186 old movies so far this year.